Hello, friends. We are going to have a wonderful discussion today on this conversation series called How to Live a Confident and Calm Life. I am Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach, and I'm here with my dear friend Nadine Searle, your calmer self coach and your cancer coach. Hello, my friend.
Hello, Susan. How are you today?
I'm so well, and I want to tell you this conversation that we're going to have today has really uplifted me. Nadine and I often talk about how music affects our lives. This started because Nadine started sharing something she calls kitchen disco with me. And I was like, kitchen disco, what's that? And she started sharing these uplifting songs, and we're going to talk about this right now. But before we do, I just want to say that in the nature of our friendship over time, the we went from the idea of kitchen disco dancing and uplifting to how music truly can deeply affect our lives. So, one of the things I'm going to speak about, Nadine, of course, is the physiology of how music affects our lives. But before we do, I want to ask you, where on earth did kitchen disco come from?
I have to be honest, it's not my phrase. There's a lovely lady, probably from all places, but where I first heard it, there's a lovely singer in our country, Sophie Ellis Bextor. I'll give her a name check. And she does it on the radio. She does a kitchen disco. I don't know if
Oh,
it started, don't know if it started in lockdown, but that's when I first heard of it. And the reason I said it to you, I wasn't really copying that, but I can't claim it as my own. But it was because in the morning, when I was getting ready to actually take my dog out, having my lemon and ginger water first thing in the morning, I always got the radio on. And then if a song would come on that I'd go, oh, I'd have a little jig about. And I'd think, oh, I must share this with Susan. I know that you're a lot of hours behind me, but I would
yeah.
send you the song, wouldn't I? Sometimes recorded off the radio. Um, I know I'm not waking you up in the middle of the night, but I know that then when you woke up, you would get that message. And it's just sharing that kind of energy and that joy. And that's what we've done for a long time now, isn't it? And it's just wonderful. And it is the fact that I'm not at my best first thing in the morning. And with the music, and if a song comes on, and again, we've talked about it before in podcasts, haven't we, about the movement as well? But actually, just the music hitting my ears, hitting my heart, it changes how I feel, and that's what that was all about. So it was I was in the kitchen getting ready to go out with the dogs, and then a song comes on. Yep, I'll share that with Susan because it makes me
And
feel good.
then and then what would happen would be I would wake up. And then because you're in England and I'm in the United States in Arizona, and then I would wake up, I would get your kitchen disco song, and then I'd be out walking my dog, first thing in the morning, listening to this uplifting, fun music that would give me a little jig about. So, first, before we go on, I just want to say, Nadine, you referenced the person who offered kitchen disco during shutdown or whatever. We'll tag her here. But I
Yes,
just want
yes.
to say that is so much in keeping with everything that you and I do. There's no stealing other people's concepts. There's sharing other people's concepts, right? It's so good that she had this idea and she created it and she offered it and you listened and you learned and now you're sharing it out. I talk about it with people and I'm sharing it out. And so however she got inspired, we today are grateful for that and we have benefited from it. So regarding the Jigabite in the kitchen, I think I told you my friend Leela loves music and listens to music. And she was the first person I thought of when you talked about this because she cooks a lot. She cooks a lot for a lot of people. And so she plays music in her kitchen. And sometimes I'm sitting there chatting, I'm just sitting, drinking the coffee and chatting with her. And the lower half of her body is doing the jig
Yes,
to the music
yes,
that she plays. It's so
yes,
good. I absolutely
yes.
love this.
It is.
Another,
Yeah, yeah. It is. I was just thinking, you just reminded me then, because once upon a time, my first job when I left school was to be a chef. And we always had music on when we were preparing and cooking and everything. And it does liven you up. It's quite nice, I think, to have music in the background. Some work you can't do that, but when you can, and especially when you're cooking, I love preparing food still, and I'm the same, in the kitchen. I've always got the music on, and again, jigging about doing what you do. It's wonderful, yeah.
Nadine, I want to take a moment to talk about science. Learning about neurology and neuroscience and the brain, as I have over the last several years, it's always the first place that I go. So I really want to help people to understand that what we're talking about here, music can help you feel good, but there's a reason for that. So I have some notes that I'm going to look at because I wanted to really take them down so that I could share them before we get into the types of songs that we love. So music does have a physiological impact on us. It doesn't just feel good, but when we say the word feel good, we invoke the nervous system. And listening to music can trigger the release of various neurochemicals, chemicals in the brain, influencing our mood, our heart rate, and even pain perception. Music can evoke emotional responses. It can alter the heart rate and breathing pattern, and even affect hormone levels. So I just want to say briefly that music is what you and I know. Music can stimulate the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This is so important to realize simply by turning on that song, using that uplift, you can literally bring yourself out of a difficult state. It can also activate the autonomic nervous system, which regulates the functions of the heart rate and breathing. Fast-paced music might increase the heart rate, which might be needed, while slower, more calming music can have the opposite effect. It's important to understand how the nervous system, the actual nervous system, is impacted by music we listen to. Music can evoke a wide range of emotions. You get emotional response from joy and excitement to sadness or nostalgia. We just started to talk about that before we came live. We're going to get into that. And also, music engages, my favorite, multiple areas of the brain. Music engages areas of the brain involved in auditory processing, motor skills, and emotions. So, all of these things are the science behind why it's important to have music in your life. Now, having music in your life can support your brain and your body. But let's get into the soul, Nadine. So, why don't you share with us some of your favorite kinds of music and let's just get into the conversation.
Yeah. But some of the things I just had lots of little memories as you were talking there of things, and actually it reminded me that years ago when I was a very busy person and I think quite angry, my choice of music was the more heavy rock and that kind of aggression. And I felt that I needed energy all the time. I never relaxed. I wasn't calm then. I wasn't that type of person. So I was always trying to find music to keep me going and liven me up. And where we can relate, can't we, to even if we don't understand the words, because sometimes you can't hear them that clearly, you get the feeling that is there with the person that's written the song, that's person that's performing the music. You get that feeling. So that was my music of choice then when I was an angry, busy person. Which is fine, that's releasing and moving emotion, isn't it? Now I know that my choices, I still can love that kind of music. And like you say, if I put those music on, the memories come straight back. I'm back there. I'm a younger person in my life. I remember my life. And that's fine. That's all good. But now my go-to is a much more calmer, relaxed, maybe slower pace of music. Not always, because like you say, we have different music for different things. And it's just so interesting because years ago I would never have like a lovely piece of slow classical music, I would have gone, oh, boring. But now I can appreciate it. So we develop and we evolve, don't we? So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting here is that you were responding to what the nervous system needed at the
Yeah,
time. You didn't do it because of it through intention, like, oh, you just you said you even used the word my go-to,
yeah,
right? In those days, it was a more heavier rock,
mm,
more a stronger beat, etc., to really get you going because you were busy and angry. I love that. I was busy and angry,
I
and
was.
then yeah, now in my more maturity and with my outlook of today and knowing what I've learned over the course of my life. You said my go-to is a calmer, slower pace, but still, the kitchen disco is, I would describe upbeat, right? It's not a calmer, slower pace, it's upbeat. So you're more discerning about which type of music you choose when now.
Yes, I yes, that's a good way of putting it, more discerning. But also, I have a wider range of music that is acceptable to me. And I would say, honestly, perhaps any kind of music, whereas I used to be like, oh, I wouldn't listen to this, that, and the other. I was quite selective. So I've opened my mind, my body, my soul to it, which is a good thing. We do that as we evolve, don't we? But something else that you said earlier, which really hit home with me, is that how the music does actually work on your brain. And when I was doing my nursery school studies, there was, I can't quote it exactly because I don't remember it exactly, but I got the meaning of it. There's certain types of classical music that are multi-leveled, that if you play them to small children, and I think even babies in the womb, it said, then it develops their brain function. The neurotransmitters connect, and because of the music that is multi-layered, because some pieces of classical music are wonderfully technical, and goodness knows how many sort of bits are going on at the same time.
Right.
And that, when you think about that, it is alerting things in your brain. It's getting things going, isn't it? And that to me is literally mind blowing because you think, oh my goodness, someone has created that, someone has composed that. So what is their brain doing? That amazes me because I'm not a writer of music.
Right, me too.
I'd love to be, but I'm not. And then when you actually know that you're playing it and you're engaging what it is doing, like you just read out, beautiful, I know you weren't reading it all, but you had your little prompts there. The beautiful way that you describe it, and it makes total sense to me. Whereas we don't need to know all of that because it hits our feelings, doesn't it?
Right.
But it is going on, and I love that sort of understanding that this is what it does to us, and this is why, like you say, the dopamine and all the things that happen, it lifts us, and it's good for us to know. And as someone who has suffered with depression and mood swings and all sorts of things, like I say, I was quite angry years ago. I didn't deal with emotions very well. I've learned to do that over the decades. It's nice to know that I can go to certain bits of music for certain things, and that's what I do. I've got particular go-tos for, like you say, when I'm feeling sad, because I want to process those emotions. So I will have certain music that I'll put on that I know will make me cry. And that's fine, right time, right place. Sometimes it's something that hits me more. I notice it in the car. I can get a song can come on and it will hit my emotions, and I'm not always ready for it. That's kind of what happens, isn't it? But when I choose it, then I'm doing it for a purpose, and I'm doing it to move emotions, to actually get things going. And whether that be to, like you say, motivate and get moving, upbeat sort of thing to get a mood like that, or whether it is to purposely do what I call my wallowing.
Yeah.
And connecting. I just shared with you, didn't I, before we came on, that we're having Father's Day at the moment. My father isn't with us anymore, but I have certain pieces of music that I feel connect me with him, and they do bring tears up, they bring emotions up. But that is something I want to do on a day like today. I know this is something we can put out at any time, but that's actually something that I was doing before I've come on live with you. And I love that. You can straight away, your memories are there, your feelings are there. And I love how instant it is, and how, yeah, it does affect how we feel, doesn't it? And that can be whatever way we want to feel, or whatever way it makes us feel. So it's quite interesting. Um, But
So
actually,
I'm looking at my notes because basically you're talking about nostalgia, the
yes, you're right.
memory of your father, and I knew I saw the word nostalgia in my notes of my
Yes,
research, and it says music can evoke in the emotional response to music can evoke a range of emotions from joy and excitement to sadness and nostalgia. The amygdala and hippocampus, two areas of your brain regions involved in emotion and memory, play a role in how we process and react to music. And that's exactly, you literally just said it.
yeah,
You know, I choose music or I use music to process emotions.
yeah, yeah, and it works. It works, which is amazing. You know, sometimes I'll play something over and over. And when I was younger, actually, when I lived at home with my parents, my mum used to say I'd be in my bedroom getting ready for school or whatever in the mornings, and I would play over and over a particular song, and she'd go crazy because it's, oh, you're playing it again and again. But
Right.
what I didn't realize at the time what I was doing, but it was a song that maybe resonated with me, maybe some words or whatever emotions I was going through at the time. Totally bumped up when you're a teenager, isn't it? You know. But I was doing that, and when you get a song that you can relate to, you know, you hear the words and you go, oh, I feel like that. You know, it's that kind of, you're not alone. Someone else feels like that. They're expressing it in a certain way, and you can join in with that. I think it's wonderful. You know, the people that create music for us to use or listen to, enjoy, whatever we do with it. I'm forever grateful because there's so many songs out there, words, lyrics that you can go, oh, that's me. You know, someone else feels
Yeah,
like
so
I feel.
we could say we could use this opportunity to speak out to you if you're a songwriter uh, to realize the work that's coming through you and out of you. You have no idea who or how many people you might impact in the future. So keep writing. You know, Nadine, in listening to you, I'm reminded that my older daughter, when she was in her early 20s, said to me, why didn't they put music to school material? She said teenagers know every lyric of all these songs by heart. Easy, you know, they can recite these lyrics, but they can't recite the elements table. Of course, there are some songs, the ABCs,
Oh,
and some songs
yeah,
there are, but I remember that she said exactly what you were just saying, which was teenagers play these songs over and over and over, and the music helps to process through the brain function, I guess. When you talked about the classical music and exactly the way you said it just then, when you talked about the layers of the instruments. You know, classical is not one of my go-to, but I did grow up playing the piano and I had plenty of classical music in my background. And you think of these layers, you know, the layering of the music coming in and how it comes into your brain. I totally love this. The nostalgia part I wanted to get into was, and you started to address it, which was music lyrics. So, full disclosure, honestly, some people watching know that my husband passed away, and sometimes it's crazy and weird, but sometimes I feel like my husband is speaking to me through music lyrics
yeah,
and I tune in and I pay attention, perhaps a conversation for another episode to being consciously aware of what's coming into your life, what's happening, and tuning into it instead of ignoring it. And sometimes I literally am looking at my car radio and saying, my gosh, I think my husband is speaking to me right now. And it's very, very soothing, so soothing for me as I process grief and the trauma and all of that. And and that happened to me with my husband. But even as I say that, I suspect that, you know, if swing music comes on, I do think of my father. My father was a dancer and I used to dance with him. And, you know, the swing music was our thing. So it's so beautiful, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And that, I know we're not talking about dancing, but it is part of it, isn't it? If you move to just to the beat, if you drum to the beat, you do anything, it hits you on a very deep level, doesn't it? Almost tribal sometimes. And like you say, if you have those experiences, memories with your father, and the dance comes into your mind, you literally are dancing in your heart, aren't you? And I think that's so beautiful that you can do that, and you feel that connection, don't you? And that it almost brings that person back for a little while, and that's just lovely, isn't it? Like you say, I love that word soothing, because music can be so soothing.
Yeah,
And it is wonderful, like you say, with your husband as well, to feel that he may be talking to you through lyrics that you just pick up. I feel the same with as you. I don't know. I thought actually everyone did this, but I'm learning that they don't. I always have a song in my head, 100%, 24/7. Have a song in my head. I thought everyone did, but I'm learning that they don't. So I'm not sure what that says about me, but it's not a problem. It's a good
how
thing.
does that
But
show itself? How does
it,
that
it,
show
it,
it?
it goes around in my head. Sometimes it's what they call it an earworm. It's what I've heard on the radio. But sometimes it's a song that I don't know where I've got it from, but they'll come through. If I don't know all the words, it can just be one line repeated over and over. Sometimes that can be frustrating. I can change it, but that's good. I can purposely change it if I want to. But songs are always going around in my head if I haven't got music on anyway. And what I find is sometimes the song that's come up, there is maybe a message to it. Sometimes there's a line that I'm repeating. And at the moment, I can't think of one that had a message for me, but it can sometimes be something a bit uplifting or something. And I go, oh, I'm repeating that. It's like it's resonating, ruminating in my mind. A
I mean,
certain message.
Nadine, that without a doubt in my mind at all. Now we're pulling back the curtain a little bit for anybody who's watching or listening to us, because this is how Nadine and I started having these conversations with each other. And and this is what we do in our own private time. But it's very strong and very palpable with me in this moment, listening to you, that your angel team, your loved ones, you've lost a lot of people close to you who love you dearly. And these songs that are playing in your head are your people showing you, A, you're not alone. Everybody who's watched us knows that you've had a cancer journey. And but even before that, there was depressive, like I also have in my background, working through the difficult times of, you said, being busy and angry. And this is what I believe about music. This is what I believe, Nadine, that I do believe that soul energy can use music to connect with us. And so I'm really, to tell you the truth, I'm delighted to hear. And thank you for sharing that with us today, that you hear these lyrics. So it's not the same song playing repeatedly, endlessly. It may be different songs.
Different songs at different times. But I, as I say, I thought everyone had that. I thought it was normal. But people, when I talk to people about it, they go, I don't have that, so I don't know. But it is, to me, it can be a comfort. You can add, and as I say, I can purposely choose words of a song that can comfort and, like you say, soothe me if I want that. So that's something that's beautiful. Yes, I can play the music, but actually, sometimes in the middle of the night, it's nice sometimes just to um, soothe myself, comfort myself with some song lyrics that I like, or a tune that I particularly like, and I can have that playing in my head and fall asleep happily. So it's there
Wow.
for me. It's like a tool in a way, and as I say, I don't really know where it came from, and it doesn't really matter. It's something that I have, and I'm grateful
But
for. So
Nadine, because we're having this conversation and speaking out and sharing deeply like this, there will be other people who will hear us and say, "Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one," or other people who will understand the self-soothing ability through using music and songs to support our nervous system, as I started with the science, or our feeling, the way we feel. Some people listen to meditations or whatever, but
yeah,
especially young people use music in this way. So
yeah,
this might have been something that came up from you when you were young. So
yeah.
I thought in preparation for this, I was wondering, music is strange for me. I never went to concerts when I was in high school. I was never one of those people. I had plenty of, in those days, we called them record albums, vinyl.
You
I had
know,
plenty of albums, but I was never, music has had a peripheral role in my life, except when I sat down and thought about this conversation in preparation for today. Music can't be peripheral. It's not true that music is peripheral to your life. Music has been integral to your life. It has been central. And so I said to myself, well, what groups or songs would I think about that I might listen to? So Elvis Presley comes up for me. I was in the day towards the end of his life. He died when I was 10 years old. So, but Elvis was very central. Elvis songs. And as it turns out, most of my groups bring up nostalgia. The Beach Boys, we just lost the last Beach Boy. And so the Beach Boys music, immediate summertime uplift,
yeah,
immediate. I have a group called Bread from my high school days. If I hear a Bread song, I'm immediately 16 again. I have the Eagles the same way. I have these song lists. Since I was preparing for this discussion, I went and I was listening to some of these songs, and I also have Queen. Come on, I mean, who doesn't have Queen on their list? We are the champions, and the Queen songs are immediate inspiration. I have Simon and Garfunkel, an old group from my early years, which when I hear them today, and of course, now they've separated and Paul Simon is on his own, but I don't have Paul Simon on my list. I have the old Simon and Garfunkel. I have Fleetwood Mac, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Mamas and the Papas, and all of the, I know these are so good. And
brilliant.
yeah, and I also have Barry Manilow. So I Barry Manilow came up because in one of the kitchen disco songs you sent me was the Copacabana.
My
And
favorite.
I grew up at a time, and we're a similar age. You're a little bit younger than I am. I acknowledge that. But I grew up at a time when Barry Manilow was popular. He's one of those, singers, songwriters whose popularity spans decades, even though he was also very nerdy. It was very nerdy to listen to Barry Manilow, but his lyrics in particular often speak to me.
Yeah.
And so, I don't have Bruce Springsteen on my list. I don't have, certain other, I do have Billy Joel, of course, in my background. So these are some of my groups that, and I've spent some time in this week kind of listening to these songs. So you can see for people who are listening, I have a big smile on my face, a huge smile as I'm sharing my list with Nadine. So Nadine, what about you? What groups have come up? How,
Well, I've got to say yes, Barry Manilow. Yeah, my guilty pleasure, if you like, because yeah, there comes whenever I say that Copacabana, that's one of my go-to karaoke songs. I like to sing karaoke, and people always sigh, and I go, yeah, but it just that's pure joy for me. That
yeah.
song, Copacabana, I can't even say it, but it really is. And I honestly feel I change my favorite music all the time. But all the ones you just said, yes, 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 toe with you. I'm big on ABBA, big on ABBA.
ABBA, yes, of course. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. That
And
would be
again,
on my list.
once upon a time, people didn't really favour them, but they've really grown in popularity as as time has gone on with the films that they've been done and everything. But those songs really speak to me, and the beautiful voices. The two girls that sing in ABBA, they have perfect voices, and they've got a high sort of pitch, which I haven't. When I sing, I'm very low, and I
Yeah.
admire anyone that can sing beautifully higher. But it really is so. Those kind of music, I feel, um, I'm struggling to read off a list like you've done, but it's a question of what is hitting me at the time, and it is lyrics that speak to me more now.
Oh,
There's a tone of music as well that I like. I like Um, I think it's all the flat keys. It's that kind of thing. I mean, I love
Minor, minor.
yeah, minor. I think that's what it
Right.
is, and that has a little bit of melancholy about it. So I think I go to that a little bit. I'm thinking of things like Jamiroquai, which has actually got a certain tone to it, which I don't know. He's an English artist. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Coldplay, people like that, that go. There is some uplifting, but there's also some very moody, deep, and meaningful songs as well. And I feel that it is that I go with a voice because a certain tone of voice hits my heart, really. And I really appreciate someone that can sing so well. That's another thing that I really can hang on
Yeah, me
to.
too.
And I,
Definitely.
and I and I think about when I talked about my heavy metal and things like that. There's some music now that, like, I look at someone like Bon Jovi, John Bon Jovi, and how he's developed as well. Almost not along with me because obviously we're
Yeah,
all
like Sting also.
yes. Again, I wasn't particularly fond of the Police as such, but as Sting has evolved, some of his music now, again, I really, Sheryl Crow and Sting together, they do a beautiful song. I can't think of the name at the moment, but I just go, oh my God, I like him more now. Paul Weller is another one. When he was younger, I wasn't a fan particularly, but his music now as an older man and what he's sharing, I can really relate to. So there are people out there, Billy Joel, you said earlier, oh, I just love everything about him. Tom
Yeah.
Jones, I've got to say, Tom Jones, oh, you know,
That is
about the
so
way he
good.
sings, the way he is. He's 85 now. I mean, it's just amazing. But he started in the 60s. I have to say, I think I'm related because my granddad was born where he was born. So, it's got to be
You're
my uncle.
related.
It's got to be my uncle. I
So
would love
good.
that. But again, it's that soulful voice, someone that sings from the heart, which is what it's all about, isn't it? Can perform well. Tina Turner, oh, amazing. And you just think, and those are people that if you watch a performance, you're really taken in, aren't you? Because they perform so well, but just listening to a voice as well, you get so much. So I'm not like you. I do love going to see live music. I have done that from my youth. It was my go-to thing to do, going
Yeah.
out. And that was what I wanted to do. I was always going to see live music and going to see people that maybe weren't that good, but doesn't matter. Live music has a energy of its own, which I love. I'm going out this afternoon actually to see a couple of brothers that I know really well that sing together. And
Oh,
I know I'm going to love it, and I know I'm going to be moved emotionally, and because it's just, to me, to see live music is wonderful. Years ago, I went to see Madonna with my really good friend, and that was just amazing. So I am into the live as well, and any kind of music that works. And we did have recently. We had a wonderful local, Leanne Carroll, I have to name her, local jazz singer, performing for us at one of our launch events that we had for the Cancer Champions that I'm involved with. And everyone is moved by the way she plays the piano, she sings along, she brings joy, but she also, there's emotion there. So there were tears, there was laughter, there was fun when she performed for us. And I just think I just feel so lucky to be able to be around that music and
I
share.
mean, I am aware of this. My dear friend is the same. She goes to concerts. One day, several years ago, she called me and she said, "What are you doing in October of the following year?" A year later, and I said, "Whatever you want me to be doing." And it was to attend a concert. It was a year in advance. She had to buy the tickets, and then I said yes. She got the tickets, and we were there. Being in, and she talks about just recently she went to a Michael Franti concert, and she said the feeling, is so important. I really love this conversation. And I want to say another thing in terms of nostalgia. There's so many older groups from the quote 50s, which for me was older, before my
Yes,
time, and
yes,
so many even as you're speaking, more and more and more comes to mind. So I really want to thank you so much for this conversation, and we'll put some of our favorite groups in the notes. And we want to invite, if you're listening or watching, go find a song right now that really speaks to your heart, because we need this today. And that's why I said, if you are a singer-songwriter, I want to encourage you and inspire you and motivate you to keep doing what you're doing. Nadine, it's a little known fact about me. Some people do know, but I watch shows like The Voice and American Idol and on AGT. I like the singers. So I love watching people get outside of themselves and, really share what's in them. And I just love this conversation about music. And I am going to be using it all day. I'm going to be doing Qigong later with some friends. And what comes up for that, just like you said, would be that quieter, calmer music that you might do if you need calming for your soul. And so, yeah, thank you. You are the one who inspired this conversation. You've brought this conversation up for me. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I've loved sharing it, and it is something we could talk about forever, isn't it? So I just think, yeah, there might be a part two, mightn't there? But yes, anyone who's listening and watching, share what you feel that moves you, and like you say, encourage everyone to go and find some music and see what it does to you, and maybe even write it yourself or sing it yourself. There's power in singing, isn't there? Even if I'm not very good at it, but I love to sing out loud. So there's something in that. And we're going to be starting with lovely Leanne's help. We're going to be starting a little singing group for my cancer support group that we've got. So, and that will be moving, that will be emotional. So that's out of my comfort zone big time. So that's something we're going to be
I
doing.
mean, but honestly, when I go back to my list of notes, I mean, for you to do that with cancer patients or cancer survivors, I mean, this, just like we teach in Qigong, it's called medical Qigong, where it actually improves your systems, it improves your health, it improves your mind. All of that is going to support this group that you're
Yes,
referring to. So keep us posted on that.
yeah, it's early. We don't know how it's going to develop, but it's going to be interesting, isn't it? So there'll be music involved in whatever shape or form. We'll see what develops. But
Well,
yeah,
perhaps we'll invite them, a few of them, to join us
yeah,
in months from now after you've gotten started, and we'll see how it
yeah.
goes. My
Oh,
friend, as always, thank you for this beautiful conversation, and I will look forward to seeing you next time, as always.
you too. Thank you.